Hey everyone, this is Patrick, and I'm here to talk about Saturn and Pisces. I know we've had a couple of weeks to experience this. I'd be curious if any of you have noticed anything along the lines of, well, we'll get into how one might experience this through the video. I've got Pisces on the cusp of my seventh house, and I actually did start to see um, a lot of activity in terms of uh, forging connections with people almost straight away, even though my seventh house starts at 2 degrees as soon as Saturn was in there. And I've been noticing it even before, just feeling like I'm connecting with people in a deeper way, or it feels like making allies. And so whatever house that Saturn is moving into, you've got to take into consideration that Neptune has been there for, like, a number of years, maybe 10 years. And for me, with Neptune in the seventh house, the last several years, uh, 5 years plus, is hasn't been a very social time for me. I've been kind of in a hermit mode. So Neptune really hasn't brought um, concrete, you know, relationships while it's been in my seventh house. That's not Neptune's job. Um, so I think with Saturn moving in, uh, you're going to see some things manifest in an area of your life where maybe due to Neptune's presence there, things weren't really manifesting. They were sort of in this sort of ethereal astral realm, because that's where Neptune lives, and it's not in his contract, so to speak, to manifest things. That's just not what he does. Excuse me. Neptune will provide the dreams, uh, artistic desires, artistic, um, dreams, and also agape, that love for humanity, which Pisces is known for. And then it's up to other parts of your chart, other planetary archetypes to sort of manifest those things. But Neptune is not going to manifest it for you. So with Neptune in Pisces, we've really seen like a supercharged Neptune or Pisces archetype for the last 10 years. And one astrologer, Eric Francis Capolino of Planet Waves, he described it as a imbalance of yin energy. Pisces is probably the most yin sign. And then when we have Neptune in there, which I consider ruling Pisces, it's really supercharged. Uh, we can get into arguments about sign rulerships. I think uh, most most astrologers, even if they don't uh, ascribe rulership to Neptune for Pisces, it's hard to imagine too many astrologers not agreeing that this is the sign. Pisces is the sign where Neptune is gonna be the most supercharged, because the significations are pretty much exact, as far as I'm concerned. So, and the idea of rulership really is about other stuff, in terms of like the astrological techniques you can use. So when you say a planet doesn't rule a sign, it doesn't mean that it's out of sync with that sign. I think most astrologers, again, would agree that Neptune is very much in sync with Pisces, and it's hard to think of another sign where Neptune would be happier. So, what are some of the manifestations of this supercharged Neptune in Pisces that we've been seeing. Um, one one phrase that came to mind, and some of what I'm going to say, I don't want to insult any people with Pisces placements, because I'm emphasizing that this is really like a sort of supercharged, unbalanced, hyper yin energy that we've been having for the last 10 years. So this is like one side of the Pisces archetype, and the Pisces archetype is, or the Neptune archetype is, one of the most complex and just deep and multifaceted archetypes that we have, and it really runs the gamut in terms of its manifestations, from so-called positive to so-called negative manifestations, where on the positive side it's like union with the divine. I mean, you can't get more positive than that. Whereas, and on the negative side, you have insanity, or uh drug addiction, various addictions, delusion. So yeah, it really runs the gamut, and we'll talk about why that is. So yeah, one of the things that we've seen with Neptune and Pisces is what Chogyam Trungpa, a Tibetan Buddhist teacher, called idiot compassion. And this is basically a compassion that lacks wisdom, it lacks skillful means, and it can often do more damage, um, if one takes action without the wisdom and without the skillful means. Again, that's not Pisces' job. It's not Neptune's job to sort of assess the situation and figure out um, how to make things better. We have to look to the polar opposite of Virgo to get that kind of help, or Saturn, which I'll be talking about. Saturn definitely will help in grounding that as well. So yeah, we've basically, with Neptune and Pisces, people have really been sort of led around by their emotions, and there's a tendency with Pisces to go with the flow, which is a great quality. As a Virgo rising, I would love to have more of that quality. Um, but sometimes it's not good to go with the flow. When certain people are controlling that flow, and they don't, really have good intentions. They may say that they do, but they don't. So yeah, too much yin energy. To sum up Saturn in Pisces, and needing something to stabilize and focus it. And lo and behold, here comes Saturn. So I think that this Saturn in Pisces for the next 2.5, 3 years is going to have some positive impact on the macro level, and more specifically, I'll talk about you know how it could be utilized on the personal level, because that's really the focus of my astrology. But usually, we astrologers today, we've got to sort of at least mention the macro level and how we see these things playing out. But I do believe that awakening happens one person at a time. Uh, so I think the best way to get a handle on these two archetypes, Saturn and Neptune, and how they relate, and they are polarized to the extreme, maybe more so than any other uh, pairs of polarities in the zodiac. We have the sun, moon, we have Venus, Mars, even Mercury, Jupiter, the small and the large. But I think the polarity between Saturn and Neptune is maybe the most dramatic, the starkest, and it it's definitely maybe one of the most important to really understand. Um, so and the way the word I think which will help us get a handle on this polarity is boundaries. So Saturn loves boundaries. It protects boundaries. It wants us to create boundaries, and Neptune is all about dissolving the boundaries. And so, with Neptune, uh, we get, lovely stuff like art, which I think, needs a relaxation of boundaries. Art needs that relaxation of boundaries, so things can come up from our unconscious, uh, from our right brain, and get expressed. And of course, Pisces is about spiritual vision and union with the divine, and also this feeling of agape in Greek, which is a love for all mankind. So it's not necessarily a personal love, but it is more wide ranging feeling of empathy. Not just for one person, but for uh, all of suffering humankind. So uh Saturn, on the other hand, is yeah, but it is about structure and um manifesting things and getting things done, and it's not about the dream. It's not about um art necessarily. It's basically these two, I would call them two drives in us, and one drive, the Saturnian drive, is the drive to find structure in a chaotic world. And one thing to remember is, for the Romans anyway, I'm not sure about the Greek counterpart Kronos, but for the Romans, Saturn was an agricultural god. So and agriculture has to do with civilization. And you think of boundaries. I think of when you're flying into Ireland and you see all these fields, and it's like an endless expanse of green, and yet they're all boundaried, with these little walls or these hedges. Um, so Saturn is the civilizer, and farming was the way that we could create order, um, in a world which could be chaotic at times. And so we do have a need for boundaries, personally and societally. Um, you know, Saturn deals more with the societal boundaries, which is why that it can be kind of a downer or a damper on individual expression. But we do need boundaries, as individuals as well. Neptune, on the other hand, is the urge to be released from the boundaries. And so we've seen, in every culture that there are rituals, uh, often accompanied by music. Back in the day, it was more like drumming and ecstatic music, where people could, sort of relax their rigid social roles and feel more of a oneness with everyone and with the earth and with the creation. And so that is a real human need. It's the need that religion and spirituality addresses, and it's directly opposed to that Saturnian need of creating limits, um, and order. But there's a part of us that needs to go beyond the limits and the order to relax all that, because that's basically where we come from. And Pisces, even without getting into the spiritual aspects of it, it represents the womb. We all come from the womb, where we were feeling at one with mother. And then we were born into this 3D or 4D existence, and that's more of a um, Saturn thing. But we never forget this Neptunian Piscean um, state of oneness, if I think many of us probably believe that we were feeling that we have that state of oneness, even before we incarnate as spirits and souls. So we're constantly looking for that. I call Neptune the urge to merge, and everyone has it. And that there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing we can do about it. Everyone has that urge. I think we all can recognize, though, that it can get us into trouble. um and that's where the addiction comes in. That's also where the codependency comes in. um and other things like the idiot compassion, which I talked about. um but yeah, let's get into um yeah, how this might show up. So uh yeah, I think let's look at three ways in our lives where this might show up with this Piscean Neptune energy, and bringing in the Saturnian energy, which is going to help manifest some of this Piscean stuff. Because as I said, Pisces, there's nothing in Pisces contract or Neptune's contract about manifestation. It just provides that feeling, basically. So when Saturn comes in, and Saturn's going to be co-present with Pisces, with Neptune in Pisces and in Aries for the next 5 years. So this is a really important uh, team up, meetup of different archetypes to understand for the next 5 years, especially now in Neptune's home sign of Pisces. And basically it's the opportunity to manifest some of those dreams, some of those spiritual aspirations, some of those artistic aspirations. Now I know when we get two polarities together, they can fight. um and so that, it's not going to be uh necessarily an easy mix. But I think this is, what the sky is asking us to do in the next 5 years, personally. And we'll see a lot of manifestations of these two archetypes coming together, and plenty of them won't be positive. But as far as our own lives, um I think it's about looking at first, any kind of spiritual interest or aspirations that we have had. And um how have we not been concretizing or manifesting them, or where, is there some kind of practice that we could do that can, bring this spiritual aspiration more down to earth, and more into our daily lives. I think that's a huge opportunity here. And I think that's something we can all look at, and it'll depend on what house it's going to show up in. So it's in my seventh house. So probably, if it shows up in that way, it's going to be spiritual practice with a group. It's not just going to be me sitting alone in my room meditating. I mean, there will be some of that, but there will be some kind of group involvement. um so the second area where it may show up is artistry. So if any of you have had some artistic inclinations while Pisces, while Neptune has been in Pisces, and they haven't come to fruition, now is the time to start to take that more seriously. And it could be something as simple as starting a journaling practice. I was reading uh, Natalie Goldberg's Writing Down the Bones um, recently, and she's a Buddhist practitioner who does writing workshops. And so she does a exercise where you just set the pen to paper, and for say 10 minutes, could be less, could be more. You don't stop writing. You don't take the pen off the paper. You don't stop writing. So it's a very Zen sort of whatever comes out, and you're not trying to get anywhere or produce anything. It's very Piscean in a way, because the Virgo is there as the opposite polarity. Virgo, would be wanting to criticize or say, well, don't write that, write this, and this is what we're going for, and take this word out. So what this exercise does in true Piscean fashion is it just let it flow, don't stop. And I think, that is the no boundaries state of Pisces that really serves artistic process. And then later you can come in with the Virgo or the Saturn and shape things. But I think when it comes to art, you really need a space where there's that flow, and you can just let things rip. And and so the Saturn part of that is just taking 10 minutes. um it could be drawing, could be anything, but the Saturn part is just taking 10 minutes, setting it aside, and giving that couple of simple rules, and then just to let those Piscean energies go. And then as I said later, if you want to, and you don't have to, is that process is um has its own benefit, besides just producing something that might be saleable, or something like that. But if you want to, then you can bring in more Saturnian elements later to shape things up. And the third um, area where Saturn and Neptune can come together fruitfully is in the area of service. So we talked about, compassion combined with wisdom and skillful means. And so I think this is an opportunity, if we wanted to, um, thought about doing some kind of service, um, this is a good time to do it. And I think it would be, pretty enriching to combine these elements of that, compassion on the one hand, and practicality on the other. And and the service can will feed back into your spiritual practice, as does the artistic practice. I mean, they all I think they all support one another. I mean, it's maybe a little bit harder to see how the service and the art are connected, but uh yeah. So those are the three things that I think you should look at. And if you need help in terms of where they are in your chart, uh, I'm here for readings. And I think I will be looking at this in readings quite a bit over the next few years, because I think it's a huge opportunity for people um, to manifest uh, some stuff in their life that may have been dormant. So with that, I'll leave it there, and I will see you next time around. May all beings be free of suffering. May all beings be happy. Take care.